Welcome, everyone, to our podcast, Breaking the Stigma. We are the Minority Psychology Network, specifically the Sports and Mental Health Committee. And today we are discussing seasonal depression with athletes. I have my co-host Shannon with me, and also a few of our guests and panelists who are on them. And I'm going to let them kind of tell you about themselves and what they do, who they are. And let's start with Dr. KJ.
Hi guys, Dr. KJ here. Um, Formerly used to be on the Sports and Mental Health Committee with the Minority Psychology Network, so it feels good being back. Presently, I am a associate licensed therapist in Texas, working on my license in California. I also am a sports psychology specialist nationwide, having worked with youth athletes all the way to the pro level. It's also known on over here as like a mental performance coach. So I work with athletes on injuries, their mental health, just getting their A game, and helping them to perform better.
Okay. Next we can go with DeAndre.
My name is DeAndre Burrell. Man, I'm a professional athlete. Played football for, maybe been about 10 years of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I've also, I train athletes, middle-aged athletes, youth in high school, and I do the same thing, just the mental performance is something that I've been wanting to add into the training part of things with kids. So that's what I do, and that's what I'm actually working on right now. And I also do impact speaking. So speaking across the nations is what I like to call it. So whether it's here on this podcast, whether it's through Instagram, social media, whether it's through a phone call, that's something that I take pride in, and helping people become better people, not just better athletes, but a better person, better human being.
I love that. And our last, but certainly not least, we got Paris here. Let's describe ourselves.
Hey, how you guys doing? I'm Paris Celestine. I'm 25. I'm currently in community college right now. I major in kinesiology. I'm out in California, and I've been playing football for about, I want to say a good 5 years. I just ended the season this about 2 weeks ago, so I'm just focusing on just ending my school career. And just looking to see what God gonna bless me with at the next level. Just waiting on some other opportunities to open. I'm a community leader. I go to church. I'm active in the ministry. And that's me.
Okay, thank you all for introducing yourselves. So we're just gonna kind of hop into it. First question we got here is what is your experience in mental health as it relates to sports? And anybody can hop in.
Say the question again.
The question is, what is your experience in mental health as it relates to sports?
Oh man, shoot, it's a lot. You know what I mean? It's a lot. Playing in college, playing in professional, playing in the NFL. It's not just the sport that has you thinking. It's outside of sports. It's your life. So I think that's the biggest challenge, because you're balancing what you do off the field, and you're steady trying to, or wanting to, keep your performance high on the field, in any sport. Mm-hmm. So I believe that was, that right there, something that I probably didn't realize at that moment in time while I was doing it, but sometimes it consumes you. And it makes you feel like that's the only thing you should be doing, because you're so used to a schedule. College, you're used to a schedule. You go to class, You know, you got weights, you go to class, you know, you got film, you go to practice. All those things are pretty much set for you too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at that Division I level or D2, D3, even junior college, things are set for you and what you're supposed to do. And then you're balancing that out. And then you're figuring out, well, what do I do outside of school? And you're like going back and forth. So it's like it almost feels like it's taking away your personal time. With just seeing who you are as a person, you know, what you like to do, what you don't like to do, and you're just steady on go mode. That's what I see.
Okay. On go mode. Definitely get that. Anybody else?
Mm, okay. It's KJ again. My experience like with mental health as it relates to sports is like looking at athletes as a person. And I feel like from the coaching side, like we just look at them as athletes and like how they can be an asset to the team, but we're not looking at where they come from, what they're enduring, and how they're having to like, you know, carry that forward. And so now on the mental health side, when I work with like the students, the athletes, just performance in between, it's like you got to really focus on prioritizing you as your individual self. Yeah, the school you rep on the front or whomever else is affiliated with the jersey that you rock, that's all cool. But who you are at the end of the day, when you're not around your teammates, when you're not around, in essence, that support, that's when you really see like your mental health, you know, wavering. If you're away from home, you're out of state. You don't have like a deep rooted connection with people nearby and around you, or you've already been dealing with ongoing mental health issues. Knowing the proper resources, the tools, again, having that community, just feeling safe within those who you're around. I've been able to see that on both sides, having been an athlete who was just struggling with things and wasn't saying anything. And now, like I said, on the post side of being a coach and then now being like a therapist. But I think it's important to like address.
Yes, 100% agree with you.
Definitely, I can agree with both Dr. KJ and DeAndre. I definitely can agree, connect more with DeAndre just because we've been like connected for over like 15 years, it seems like, and we have the same goals, and he's been there to the league and stuff like that as well. So just even watching him from what he's experienced, it kind of like I want to say like not steer me in a different direction, but like things not to do or like things that are okay to do, like okay to speak up and things like that. Just being a vulnerable man as a strength and not a weakness, things like that. I've learned about in mental health as well. For me, mostly though, like a lot of the mental things that I had to deal with were like outside of football, and then coming in and try to make that a balance with school and everything else. So it's definitely something that needs to be more like brought to it. I feel like every team or every program should have like a mental health type of program for athletes. They don't, but it's really about being a community too as well. So we need more coaches, more people out there, you know, worried about like us as a human, like DeAndre said. So not a player, more like as an individual. So.
And I can even say for myself, being an athlete, and it was the mental, especially when injury or when it comes to just you have hardship outside of sport. I had a really hard time trying to figure out how to mesh the two, how to like make them come together to be successful as a person. And maybe one day sports was really good, so my mental health was good. The other day you go home and it's really bad, and it's just a lot going on.
Yeah.
Next question.
Oh, I'm
Oh, you
sorry.
got something, Shannon? You good?
Yeah,
You good.
I wanted to just add in real quick. You know, I don't want to be quiet on
Mm-hmm.
the first 5 to 10 minutes. Just my experience with mental health, especially in sports, is you know coming, into the sports that I played, baseball and football, I came in kind of like having to work from the bottom up, especially with football, like moving over from a sport that I was so accustomed to, like baseball, for like the past like 15, 16 years of my life at the time. Switching over to football and it's like being in a completely new environment. You got people that have probably played that sport about as long as I played the other sports. So, you got to get your respect in from the guys that put their work in, and, also give respect from the coaches, because, they're looking at you like, all right, you're a new person. We've had years of experience from these guys. You don't have that much experience. So what you're gonna have to prove a whole lot to us than what these guys do. But all of that plays into the experiences that you have, because one, you're like scratching and clawing to the top, trying to get to that recognition, by the coaches and by the players themselves, because those are the people that you got to get up with and get out and work hard with and prove yourself to. So, that type of, from that perspective in mental health, it kind of, it can be a positive and it can be a negative, on certain days. Just like, like Paris was saying, one day you're up. I mean, I think that was Paris. I think that was what you were saying, one day you're up, the next day you're down. It all plays a part in what, how you get into the sport and outside of, outside of that, just performance overall.
Thank you, everybody, for your input on that one. All right, we're going to move on to our next question here. What's one of your best and worst experiences in sports personally that you can recount, whether as a fan, athlete, or sports psychology?
That's for anybody. Anybody can shoot out there. And, I know somebody has like a worse experience, as a fan, at least. Everybody's got a favorite team. They may have lost at some point. So
the worst experience, man, that right there is like, it just feels like, for me, it was just like football being taken away, like playing in the NFL. At that moment in time, I'm like, brother, what do I do? This is all I've done. You know what I mean? This is what I worked for. This is what I knew I can go do. And just being released and cut from teams where they say, well, you did everything we asked, but we're going another direction. And in my mind, it's like, well, if I did everything you asked me to do, then why you letting me go? So I think that was one of like my biggest, like, that. I can't even say that, man. It's probably before that, when I got cut, when I didn't make the roster for Green Bay. Man, I dropped like 2 passes in one game. And like, that's what took me downhill. It took me like super far down. Dropped 2 passes, man. Like during that year, I was like projected to make it as the 6th receiver. First game, I fumbled a kick return. But I came back, had a good return, played a little bit, pulled my groin. Didn't play the second game. Third game came, okay, I came back, boom, missed 2 passes. Right, so I'm like, dang. Fourth game, I had an okay game, caught 2 passes, kick return, doing all the other stuff. But it wasn't enough for what they wanted or needed at that moment. And then from there, man, I just really kind of, practice was, man, I would go days of practice like the year before where I didn't drop a pass like all week. That's like what our standard was. So when you're like trying to perfect something in practice so you can play in the game, it's like when you make a mistake, it's like, okay, how are they looking at me? You start creating this thought in your mind. And just from having a bad preseason, the second year, or like I'll just say an okay preseason, it wasn't like what I wanted it to be. It just made me feel like, dang, I didn't make the roster, but I was still on the practice squad. But it was just like my mind I wasn't up for it. Like I was doing what I was doing, but I'll be dropping passes, bro. Like passes that are just hitting my hands and I just drop it. I'm like, bro, how am I even dropping this? It had nothing to do with my physical ability or anything. It was just my mental state and my spirit was down. And that right there is what really started like the downhill thing. So for me, I'd say that's where that started, like that mental like breakdown and just seeing how business was working, right? Because they're about business. It's not always about the best player. And I think that was my worst time. I can't even say me getting cut was the worst time. That particular moment, not making the roster, that was the worst for me.
Okay. Somebody up next?
If I had to think for mine, it'd probably just be not being able to play football in general. I graduated high school in 2016. After that, I did go to another junior college, not far from me at all, or the school I go to now. I just got around the wrong people. So, I mean, even the players that I was linked up with at the time, they weren't really on the same mission that I wanted to be on. So, I mean, and I kind of let that contaminate my spirit and things like that. So it pushed me, it took a little longer. And I took a couple of different paths on the path that I was, chosen to take. But eventually I got back. Like I put in the work with DeAndre and, God spoke to me and I did some other things too to get back to where I am today, 25, being able to still play the game. Like I said, playing at the junior college level. And the people my age, like the people that I was around, they've all ventured off and they're working. Not to say that there's nothing wrong with work, but I felt like they definitely gave up on something that they loved to do or they had a passion for, and that's what I came back to. So all the years that I've been working since 2018, I've been working but it was never like a fulfillment for me. I was never satisfied. So until I got back to the game. So during that time of those years, I could say I was mentally down, but while I was mentally down, I was still building up at the same time. So, and that's how I'm here today. So that was the good and bad moment because this year I got to experience being able to play with, just to see what I was able to do and to experience that with other of my teammates too. So
Nice.
A lot of ups and downs in there, but perseverance is the key.
Hey man, that's good. I forgot the good part, man. My bad if I didn't add the good part. The good part is I'm here now. I like I'm just grateful. You know what I mean? To have I had another opportunity to play this year. So I played arena in North Carolina, Wyoming, here in Utah for one of my friends' teams, and still going. So that's the good. God gave me another opportunity, and I chose to like work at it and not make those moments in the past my present moments now. So it's just growing from it, learning and understanding, and just knowing who I am and remembering what got me to this point, because I was always me before sports.
KJ?
Well, okay. One of my worst experiences in sports was just having a coach that didn't believe me. He caused me a lot of like grief. Was a good athlete, trained well, did whatever was asked. But on this day in particular, I was jogging with the team. We're on a mile jog around the neighborhood for a 5 a.m. practice. And on that jog, I got injured. And as I'm approaching the school, like my other coach passed me and was like, "You're okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I think I can make it." Like I'm like a quarter mile from the pool. And my hip was hurting, my knee was hurting, like my whole leg. So I walk all the way back. And my coach was just yelling at me, the head coach, just absurdities. Like, "Can you hear me? You need to run all the way and finish." take your headphones out of your ears, just like all these slanderous things. And I'm like, dude, like you can literally physically see me like limping back to campus, like hurting. And I just had ducked off like at the bleachers that were right there and just was crying. And he was like, well, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, literally, you accused me of lying. There's never been a reason to lie. Like that's out of my character, but I'm hurt. And you were more worried about me finishing a run than actually taking the time to care for me and make sure that I was well. Well, fast forward, that ended up being my season-ending injury. My knee had inflamed. I couldn't move it no matter how hard. Like I tried to like get in practice and still move. I couldn't. So my senior year, I ended up not being able to compete. That transitioned into being a career-ending injury by car accident. That freshman, my first quarter as a freshman in college. And that worst experience actually translated to the best experience because one, denial was a door open. I ended up getting into sports psych and really being able to advocate more for athletes for injuries and their mental wellness, and also helping to push more positive coach-athlete relationships, and then transition that to me becoming a coach. So my worst experience actually then became one of my best experiences. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. We're kind of moving because time's short, you know what I mean? Next question is, how common is it for athletes to have seasonal depression? Or do we think it's kind of more common in a certain sport, possibly like football or baseball or track, for instance? Yeah.
I can answer. Oh, never mind. Sorry, DeAndre.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Dr. KJ. Yeah, say your piece, because like what you were saying previously really kind of carries over into not just your perspective, but from giving the audience a more intimate look on how seasonal depression affects athletes, especially within respective sports. So yeah, please continue on that. Tell us more.
So in seasonal depression, like how it relates to athletes, like not everyone's going to experience it. It just depends on you as a person. One, how strong your mental is, what your support system looks like what resources and tools you have in your kit. But it is very common for athletes. A lot of them don't speak about it because they're not even sure themselves that they are depressed. They're just feeling like I'm going through stress, like a season's ending or this shift and that change and life is happening, and they're not really having a name for it. But then there's some things you can look into, like, am I sleeping less? Am I eating less? Do I feel like there's a lot more going on my mental plate? Is my focus all over? Just some telltale like red flag signs. Other things are also related to the weather and folks like circadian rhythms, which is your body's like natural clock that goes, hey, it's wintertime again. And everybody else is going to be going home to their families. You're going to be here. So things like that, that's attributed to the holidays. Other things just attributed to weather. But yeah, it's, I won't say it's sports specific, not in what I've seen. I want to say all athletes to some extent deal with a level of depression, but those who have it more severe, their experiences vary. And do they know who to go to? What resources can they access if they're a student far away from home? And I think these guys would be like great candidates to speak on their experience and how they may have encountered that and what tools they might have used to, get through that.
Paris, you got anything to add on to that? That was a very well thought out, just rebuttal to that question, and it definitely shows that some athletes will go through it. I mean, it's not just pertaining to athletes; it's pertaining to everybody. But certain athletes, they may feel a certain way when they see other students going home. They have to stay behind and finish out their seasons or whatever it is that they have to do, practice, whatever it may be. But yeah, since you're closest to that experience at this point, care to piggyback on that?
Yeah. So I mean, me personally, if when I did experience seasonal depression and stuff like that, it wasn't due to sports. I mean, maybe at moments, like if I seen like, all right, it's football season right now, and like it's like, all right, damn, I'm not playing, or I'm not, like I may have got sad then, but like it wasn't from me specifically not being able to play. Like it was like more personal, like family issues and stuff like that. So like even around this time, it's like it's winter, it's getting cold. I remember it was probably like what 2017, before 2018. Like me and my mom, we got into it. And it's, it's almost holidays and stuff like that. I get kicked out. I'm gone for like 2 weeks, and through that 2 weeks, I'm going through stuff too. I got to work. I got to figure out like, all right, where am I sleeping my head and stuff tonight, or, something like that. So for me, years after that, during like the wintertime when it got cold, I started to realize that I was going into like, I was like, damn, why am I feeling like this? Why am I crying myself to sleep at night, or things like that? And then I realized, I'm like, damn, like during this time last year, I was going through this, and this is why I'm feeling like this. So yeah, for me, it wasn't really football or the sports part of it. It was just going through actual, real life, family issues and stuff like that. And how I got through that, I mean, I just kept going. I tell DeAndre that all the time. Like that's something that I literally go by every day, and I just say keep going. And I mean, it's words that we're just saying, but we have to actually physically and mentally push through things. So that's what I have to say for that.
I was just gonna ask about I'll let DeAndre go too, but I was just thinking about your support that you may have had during that time. Did you have any support, whether it be friends, family, teammates, you know,
During what part? Like during that?
during that time for you where it was real dark?
Yeah, during that time, all glory to God. God first of all. I mean, even when I'm not praying and doing the things that I should be doing, he's never left my side. So that's one. And I can say thank God for that. And just keeping me in peace. But definitely I had friends that showed up for me. DeAndre, like I said, he's always been there and stuff like that too. So I've looked at DeAndre as an older brother / mentor. So even when we haven't talked for long, we always like get back together. Like God just put it in our hearts to like, talk back. Like even there was a time where me and DeAndre, we didn't talk for like, it felt like a year. And then I went through something, and then I said, you know what? I'm going to do what I said I wanted to do. And then when I said that to myself, God just, God made it happen. And, we linked back up. We got back, and then from there on, like, yeah, we went through trials. But we still on the journey, and we still, like, we went through some things that just built us up. And like, that's like my brother for real. Like, if I have to talk to anybody any time of the day, like, that's who I'm gonna call. Like, so I really don't, like, I got friends my age. I'm 25, but we've been kicking it for so long, and I've learned so much, and we've learned so much from each other. Like, that's just what it is now. And that's just and I don't want to say like the people my age, they're not on the same mission, because everybody has their own mission, but we kind of think alike. Like, that's my brother in Christ. We trying to strive to be great. We want to keep God first, and that's just something that I'm on right now. And if I'm not seeing that, because I want to get my friends to that same level as well, but everybody can't go. So I can, share the information, preach to them, come to church with me, or at least, give them advice. But if they don't want to receive it, I can't really do too much. So I got to leave it behind me and move with who wants to move forward with me. So.
Definitely powerful there. Appreciate that a lot. Sorry, DeAndre, I didn't know if you had anything or not.
Oh man, no, I'm just listening and just really I never really thought about seasonal depression. Like it'd be time. Like I know when I was in Green Bay, because NFL college season, NFL season, two different seasons. They start around the same time, but they don't end at the same time. So NFL, when we got to like week 12, 13, I was just like drained. I'm like, man, I'm ready to go home. Like, I'm ready for the season to be over with. Bro, we playing all the way till January. July, you know what I mean? Training camp till January. Bro, like that's a long time. That's meetings almost every day. Like it becomes draining because you're doing the same routine. And whether athletes recognize it or realize or aware of it, but I know it that's part of the reason why this is what I'm seeing right now. This is like literally what God's showing me. This is why you see guys' performances go down. It's literally because they're not realizing that they are going through seasonal depression when they're playing, even in the NFL. Half these guys don't even see it. They're just trying to do the same thing over and over again, and they're not seeing it. It just keeps happening over and over again. That's why teams will get worse. That's why teams will decline. That's why the performance goes down. That's why you're like, why is this guy? Do you see more injuries? Like, yeah, it's physical, but it's mental too. They're burnt out. Like all these guys are burnt out. The ones that are winning, it's most likely because everyone is on the same page. So the difference between winning teams and the losing teams too are that they could plug anybody in. So if you have that same mindset on the team, you're going to win. And you could push through those things, but that's tough. And then think about it. If you're a one-man army, bro, it's going to be hard to take down, the rest of the people. So having one player on the team, maybe they're not going through seasonal depression, but what about the rest of the team? What about the rest of the players? You know what I mean? What about their life and their livelihood? So I can see now why performances go down. It could be injury. It could be like what Paris was saying, it came up years after because of what he'd gone through in the past, at that time. And that can be challenging, whether it's in sport or out of sport. And think about it, like if you're in sport and that comes up on you, yeah, you're going through seasonal depression. You know what I mean? Regardless if it's with sport. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, definitely agree with that, DeAndre. Especially, one point that you brought out was, each, player being on one accord. Those people, those folks those athletes that are on winning teams and, even in losing teams, they're still on one accord, but they're just, it's just in the opposite direction of, of what you want. So, I know a lot lately, over the past couple of years, we've been seeing this trend of athletes, taking a little bit of their power back and taking, mental breaks, especially with the length of the season that you brought up. Like, you're going from July to January, or even earlier than that, because you got rookies going into OTAs, or even just whatever sport it may be, they're always going in like at least a good couple of weeks before they're actually supposed to report in some cases. So that kind of leads us into into the next question. So over the course of a year, like I said, we've seen many athletes step up and make the time to practice protecting their mental health by taking strategic breaks. What do you think of these strategic breaks, and how do you think coaches and athletic offices can assist with supporting their athletes with allotting time to take breaks? So that's for anybody who wants to, that feels the spirit moving around in the room, as one of my bosses would say.
Man, for me, I think it should be something where they should either have there has to be time replaced instead of I won't say just practice, but like, okay, you know, we're going to shorten our meeting today, this week for this particular thing. You know what I mean? Like having that a thing for them so they can clear their mind and free their mind. Because now it's going to get them back to doing what they love to do. Sometimes when you're just constantly beating certain things in people's brains or just like repeating it, man, we hear you, but we don't even care at this point. You know what I mean? Like we need something different because you've been repeating yourself. So then to me, what it sounds like, this is what I'm hearing right now, is that coaches have to come up with better strategies to coach. Because if I'm repeating the same thing over and over again, that's cool. We understand, you know, the principles and everything that you want us to do. But there has to be a different approach sometimes. And that's whether you win or losing, man. You have to have a different approach. And you have to show that other side of you, you know, not just the coaching side. But I think it should be times like during the week where, you know, the athletes get together, whether it's, to me, I'm thinking college, where all the sports, you know, if they're able, come together on a certain day and do something, you know what I mean? Like, it's just really like fellowship, bro. Like just really just taking that playing sports thing out of your mind just for that moment and just, you know, either talking about mental health, talking about, you know, resources, talking about, you know, it's okay to speak up, or just having people speak up and talk about how they feel in that moment. Cause then it gives you a better, I won't say critique on them, but it'll give you better awareness about who you're dealing with or what player you have and who's really going through something. Shoot, you may have your athlete that's, man, balling out, be the one that needs the most help, you know, but you think because they're, you know, playing in a basketball game, scoring 25 points a game, that they're good and they're helping you win. Now you think they're good. You may have your starting quarterback throwing for 4,000 yards, 50 touchdowns. Oh, he's good. No, he not. You know what I mean? You're not asking. Or you may have a star track athlete. She may be running all these good times, but she's not doing well. You know what I mean? So you have to like, that's where coaches, I feel like in programs, they got to like implement that to really see where everybody's at. So I feel like it should be like every month or something at the least, while these kids are in school, that there's something for them to go to or resources for mental health.
I'm gonna jump in on that too. And also kind of push like the importance of like mental health first aid. I know that's like up on the rise, but coaches taking that. I know with a few of the schools that I've worked with, like that was mandatory for the coaches to be able to go into the next season. But taking that mental health first aid as a training will help them be more beneficial to knowing like things to look for, such as like if their athletes are struggling with like anxiety, stress, if they are dealing with depression, and then, you know, communicating that with the team and helping them like have that rapport and being able to know like, hey, if you're having a bad day, you know, come say something. Yeah, I want you to be able to be here at practice and, you know, ultimately like perform your best. But at the end of the day, if you're in a rut because you're grieving, you know, a loss at home, that's where your focus needs to be, you know, tending to that. You know, all right, you're having a bad day. Have you checked in with, you know, the mental health resource center on campus, you know, tapped in with somebody? Because we don't do that. Coaches just like, suck it up. We got a game to focus on. You know, it is what it is. Like, you know, it's a only the strong survive culture, but that's really where we're tearing up the athletes. Yeah, you're going to be physically fit. Yeah, you guys are training day in and day out. You know, it's all about that mental grit and that mental toughness. But at the end of the day, I was like, I'll continue to advocate for if you're okay, I'm in bed, but I'm sad. I'm crying. You know, I don't want to be here. Coach said a lot of things today. That hit, and I feel like coach missed the point with me, not realizing like I'm having a bad day. You know, my grams just died, and now I got to deal with that. But I'm not going to be able to go home because we have like a very big game that weekend, and you know, I don't want to let my team down because of the position. Stack up all these other variables. But going back to the point of mental health first aid for coaches is definitely something I feel all coaches should have. Also being connected with your athletics team, your department, and knowing, okay, do we have like specific therapists? Do we have mental performance coaches? Do we have, athletics counselors that just deal with athlete mental health or student athlete mental health? And do they know that? If the campus does not have that, are they connected with local resources? Because I've worked with teams who they don't have that on their campus. They have to be resourced out to someone else. And also like breaking the stigma with the title like sports psychology. People hear that and go, oh, they're going to tell my coach all this information, forgetting that things are, connected to HIPAA. I can't tell you nothing. Like what you share with me, unless you're intending to harm yourself, that's all what it is. So I definitely think having mental breaks, you should take them, and they should become more of a normal culture. It's just more people continuing to do it and showing like this was the benefit of that. Yes, I lost this in essence, but look how much more I'm able to do. Like Simone Biles, who's like reoccurring in my mind, or even Naomi Osaka right now. Like these two took big pauses as elite athletes, female athletes, speaking of, and look at their comeback game. Serena Williams, same thing. Take her pause and then come back even greater. And so it's just the benefit of that. But that's all I got.
Definitely love the input there.
Yeah, I really don't have much to say on that. I mean, they really kind of, overall mentioned everything that there is to do, and so I mean, other than the fact that I haven't really seen that, like since I've been in college, I haven't really seen like mental health people to really help, like counselors to help the athletes, specifically in that area. 2020, I went to Laney in the spring, Laney College of Oakland. And they did have a lady there doing that. And that was the first time that I've seen that there. She would help with like, home situations and stuff like that, making sure kids was eating and stuff like that, and, where their mental state was. But that was the first time I've ever seen that. So, and since then I haven't seen it in the other colleges. So they definitely do have it, but it needs to be over exaggerated for sure. So
I agree. Just thinking because I'm in the middle of starting my CNPC journey, certified performance mental journey. And I work with collegiate bowlers, and and youth bowlers. So I'm trying to like in the collegiate side. When I was working with them, they didn't have anybody. It's small. It's bowling. Nobody's gonna have anything for bowling. But to really see how much they really needed the help and just working on the visual cues, working on their how to come back after misspirit, things like that. It was and how much it dwelled on them very fast as a team and as a unit, and how much coach had no idea what to do. So I 100% that mental first aid, along with also just things going on. Kind of jumping into we got the holiday season coming up, right? Christmas, well, it's already here, but Christmas is coming up in a couple of weeks here. We think that what's something that we can kind of do for athletes, or believe that athletes can do during this time for the holidays, when it comes to like dealing with suppression and family during the time of the holidays.
Say it one more time.
So it's the holidays. Is there anything that you believe that athletes go through during the holiday season when it comes to sports, along with family during the holidays?
Yeah, I mean, just depending on what sport. Like football, right now, they got bowl games. Some teams are still playing. Some teams might be playing on, the holidays this weekend. I mean, in the next couple of weeks, or like Thanksgiving. People didn't get to go back to their families because they had games. So it just depends on what sport. That's basketball too.
Mhm.
Basketball going on right now. It just all depends on what sport, man. And some school, you're in school, you know what I mean? I don't know. Some people may not have. I'm thinking more so college. I don't know why. It's just been on my heart with college. But like college, it's like they may not have the money to go home. You know what I mean? They may not have the money to go home. They may not have the money to fly home, or they may be going to a school in California, but they family live in New York. You know what I mean? Like, but that flight and that ticket and they can't be around them. So it just all depends, man. It's really could be any sport, man. You in school in college may not have the funds to go, and maybe you're focused on, staying at school and you feel like you got to stay there too. No one's really telling you, hey, man, you should go visit your family. But in your mind, it's like, nah, I'm going to stay at school. I'll just be okay. Sometimes it's crazy because sometimes I've done that, right? It's like, even like at these moments in times, I'll be like, man, I don't know if I want to go here for Thanksgiving. I don't know if I'm going to go home but I should be going, right? I should spend time with family, friends, or whoever may be that I feel like is family. And just to be around that and to be around people that are going to support me, encourage me, you know what I mean? Love on me, and me giving the same back. So, I think that's big for athletes, because some might not be able to go home.
Oh, Duane, you're on mute.
I didn't know, Paris, if you had anything pressure with the holidays and, football around the same time. Like, how do you manage that? Do you feel like it's a lot of pressure? Um,
For me personally, so right now we out of season, so we didn't get no extra games or anything. So we it's just come to an end. So um, for me personally, it's just really finishing up school. Like I got 1 week left for real, and then it's just we get a break. And so I'm not a freshman. I'm not one of those freshman guys. So they get a break and they got to go right back to it. And I mean, it's really off season, so still got to stay locked in. And yeah, for some of those things, some of those kids, they may not be able to, go back and see family. Some people may be missing family because they're not here today. So other than that, that's all I really got to say on that matter.
Dr. KJ, we don't want to leave you out of this. Do you have anything to add on to that?
No, I think the guys handled it. I'm gonna co-sign with them and I'm gonna leave it there.
Gotcha. So, well, then that can bridge us into the next question. So we're gonna get this question and probably one more question out of the way, but really going into the types of methods that student athletes can take up, to come, to go not say toe to toe, but just something that they can take on to alleviate the effects of seasonal depression. What can they do to tackle that during their academic semester and athletic seasons? So I see Paris. I see your wheels are turning a little bit up there. So I'm pretty sure since you're just coming out of season, going through just going through the motions of football season. What do you think you took up to somewhat thwart seasonal depression, or even if you felt like you had it, what would you do to combat that?
What would I do? Well, really, it just starts with knowing the root of the problem. So I feel like me personally, after knowing like what, where it's coming from and what it is, I could pray about it. I could do those things. I mean, um, just finding other interests, things that can take my mind off of. Yeah, so it got to be like a mind, something that can just take up that. I don't know. It's hard to really say because not everybody's going to be religious. You know what I'm saying? Or because what I'm going to say is me personally, go talk to God. Pray about it, and and He's going to put you in the right direction, and do certain things for you. But yeah, I feel like it's starting with the root of that person knowing it. Where's the problem lying? And then, finding different interests. You might be interested in some different things. If it's just work, if it's just working out, working out is a lot of people's outlets these days. Yeah, that's all I got to say on that part. That's a good question though. I'm probably gonna do some more researching on that because me personally, I would like to know more too. With like, what should we do?
Definitely want to, you definitely want to find something. That's the time where I'll give a little example of one of my friends. Once I was done playing, for during the season, I couldn't find, things to do. I felt a little bit, like I was struggling within myself. And one time, one of the guys that was on the football team was saying, he saw that I was stressed out a little bit. And, I told him why, it's because the season was over with and everything. And, he just told me, hey man, sometimes, you got to find something else to get into. Like you got to remember during the off season, you don't have that jersey. You don't have to, be in front of coaches or anything like that. Like you can be yourself. You need to take off the jersey and learn how to be, you, the person that puts on the jersey. So, going out, finding new hobbies, things like that. Like my personal outlet was video games. I love video games. So that kind of took, a whole lot of stress off of me. But yeah, that was just, something that I felt like I needed to get out there and, just put out there. Sometimes it doesn't always have to be complicated. It can be something quite simple and, like sitting to yourself for about 30, 45 minutes or whatnot. Just being back in tune with who you are. So yeah, that just kind of will weigh my heart a little bit. But yeah, Dr. KJ, DeAndre, if y'all want to add something in there.
Yeah, definitely. What I tell my athletes or my performers is really finding outlets. You can go online and go like 99 coping skills, and there's just like 99 activities you can engage in, things you can try, things that might work for you, things that might not work for you, because everybody's depression journey is going to be way different. There's journaling. I like to go on walks, and I like to actually do like walk therapy. And then folks also lack like the understanding of like how to fuel their body through nutrition, because a lot of what you eat and a lot of what you're like connected with, that can influence your mental health. So connecting with like a nutritionist, or going into like food journals and saying like, okay, I'm dealing with depression, what food is good? I very much push like holistic as opposed to like medication unless it's definitely needed. Dark leafy green vegetables, getting more vitamin D, maybe that's just like more sunlight exposure. In addition to, your nutritional side, just that going back to your support system, like steady, like I will forever thrive on that. Knowing who's in your village. So if you're having a bad day, who can you rely on? Who can you talk to and be like, sis, bro, I'm having a bad day and like, I don't want to get out of bed. And they might be like, kick in bed, like just kick it in bed. Like, I'm gonna come over, I'm gonna bring you food, and we're just gonna like, we're gonna sit in it. We're gonna feel what we gotta feel. And as a therapist, like that's like my slogan, like feel what you gotta feel to heal. And sometimes it's not a matter of, well, let's do things so we don't feel it. It's a matter of sit with what you're dealing with and feel it. And, assess that. Why am I feeling like this? Put a name to it, identify those triggers, and then take a different route to approach it.
Definitely have to learn how to sit with yourself and just be able to feel out what it is that you're feeling, and that's one of the things that I typically would how I would approach my issues or my problems. Um, First off is always identifying and seeing what it is that you need to what it is that's plaguing you or whatnot, and just learning how to go about it. Okay, I got this strategy here. This is what I can do. This is what I can do also. Which way makes better sense, or how do I process these things, or just taking that time to even just process, because a lot of people don't do that. They just go straight into reaction instead of going through that pipeline of, okay, problem, process, analyze, acknowledge, solve it, that type of thing. So I think that is something that we should all be taking up to practice, and just I think at that point we all get to a way better solution than what we would normally go if we went the reactive way. So thank you, Dr. KJ, for that. DeAndre, you got anything for that?
I just see Dr. Monica's comment in the chat, and she says, journal, get out in nature and meditation, relaxing, breathing, laughter, being around people with high vibrations. Speak over yourself. It will be okay. Affirmations change the brain and increases. Affirmations change the brain and increases dopamine. So for me, I'd say, sometimes you do just got to sit and think about it. You can't really, some people they try to work the problem too fast, right? It may be difficult, right? I'm going off math right now. Whatever reasons, this is what I'm hearing. It's like a math problem. You know what I mean? There's so many parts to it, and you're trying to figure it out so fast. You can make you can make it worse, and you'll get the wrong answer. So you rather sit and really reflect on it. Reflect on what's going on. Reflect on your feelings. Reflect on why you got upset. Reflect on why you're feeling a certain way. Reflect on those things, and I feel like you'll get your answer, because slowly it'll calm you down. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you be so hyped up, you get so frustrated that the problem just starts getting bigger, or you get more mad, get more frustrated, get more angry. You take it out on people, and then it just starts to become a bigger problem. So just, it's like what Dr. KJ said, just feel that feeling, and just whatever that feels like, you got to talk to yourself sometimes. You got to encourage yourself. Like Dr. Monica said, speak over yourself. Sometimes we got too many things on our mind, and the root of the problem, like Paris said, man, it may not have to do with no sports. It may not even have to do with what the coach says. It could have something to do with, man, 10 years ago. You know what I mean? Like 10 years ago, what your mom did to you, what your dad did to you, your past relationships. So, it's just things that you have to dial in and really see what it is. So that's it.
Okay, definitely appreciate that. Coming from you, DeAndre, you definitely need that time to just tell yourself to be still, and just be with yourself, uh, analyze what was going on with you, and find the best route possible for you to be able to get past what's going on, or go through it, because we all got things that we have going on, and whether other people realize it or not, athletes, they go through these things, and they need to have as much space as the people that are watching them to go through and solve the things that they go through themselves. So, definitely appreciate you, DeAndre, for that. Well, other than that, it looks like we have run out of time. I'd like to thank all of y'all, Paris, Dr. KJ, DeAndre, for coming on to this, coming on to the podcast and,
Don't
just
forget about
getting
Dr.
me.
Monica here.
Oh yeah, definitely. You too, Dr. Monica. For those that may not know, Dr. Monica is definitely one of our founding pillars of the Minority Psychology Network as a whole. Not just with the Sport and Mental Health Committee. So it's always a pleasure of having her drop in and drop some gems in the chat for us to go over, and definitely appreciate Duane being a wonderful co-host. In the midst of me being my shy self. So, but yeah, I appreciate y'all, Paris, Dr. KJ, DeAndre, Dr. Monica. This has been another episode of Minority Psychology Network, Breaking the Stigma podcast, and we are talking about seasonal depression in athletes. And we hope to see everybody back for another episode. So y'all tap in and come follow us on our journey. We're continuing going in year 5, actually. This has been 4 years since we've been, put together, as a unit. That's what we view ourselves as, a whole entire unit. So we're nationwide, going to go worldwide with this. So Lord willing. Other than that, peace. We'll see y'all next time for another episode.